I'll turn it over to MP Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to our witnesses for being here today. This is probably one of the most important studies that this committee is undertaking right now, because Canadians pay the highest cell phone bills in the whole planet, not just in North America, not in part of the world, it's the whole world. Only South Africa seems to have some of the higher fees. And the reason for that is we have basically a de facto network duopoly in Canada. We have only 2 independent mobile networks in Canada with a national footprint. So we have Rogers, which does cost sharing, of course, or sharing with now with Videotron, and then we have Bell and Telus who operate on the east side. But we only have 2 of this whole country. So it's easy to see what's happened over the years, that when you have less players and less sellers, many buyers, that the prices have gone up. And just to talk about some of the recent data we have, we know we talked about from Stats Canada, but from Rewill from 2023 data, Canada is paying a minimum monthly price for 4G and 5G smartphone plans with at least 100 gigabytes, 1,000 minutes, and 10 megabytes per second peak speed. Canadians are paying $90 per plan, versus the United States, who are paying $44, and Australians who are paying less than $30. So this is what happens when we've had this major oligopoly control the country. We had the Prime Minister say he was going to reduce cell phone fees by 25%. This is in 2019. Based on these numbers, that didn't happen. We had the Industry Minister who said that a 4th national player would be able to reduce these fees across Canada, and that was supposed to be Freedom and Videotron. And right now we're seeing, with prices going up $9 a month, that's not happening. So the CRTC, you've been given directives. I want to talk specifically about the directives that you've been given from the government. And I want to go specific this morning to MVNOs. Right now, how many MVNOs do we have in Canada operating at this moment?
I believe they're working towards having 3 potential MVNOs operating at this point in time.
Okay, and are you aware of how many MVNOs are in the U.S. and how many are in Australia?
I do not have that data.
So the number is 139 in the U.S. and 66 in Australia. We look at what a lot of Canadians aren't aware of what are flanker brands, but are actually part of the big 3. So Bell owns Bell, MTS, Lucky Mobile, and Virgin Plus. Rogers owns Fido, Chatter, CityPhone. Telus owns Koodo, and Public Mobile. So when customers think they have choice, they're actually operated by the big brands. And to your answer, we only have 3 MVNOs. But you've said you've been given a direction by the minister to create more MVNOs in Canada. But what are the stipulations right now if you want to open a MVNO? Do you have to have network, and do you have to have certain years to build it up? What is the stipulations on owning an MVNO in Canada right now?
The model that we have implemented to actually impose the MVNO regime is one based on trusting the regional players across the nation, which are various players who have access to spectrum and who are building out networks to essentially better serve Canadians and provide them with more competition and better prices.
And does that follow the same model we might see in Australia or the U.S.?
The U.S. model is, I believe, is not a mandated model. It's a model that is developed as a result of, effective competition in that market.
And I think the same is in Australia. So essentially, if someone wants to start an MVNO in Canada, the barrier to entry is billions of dollars, not millions, to build out a network and then build that network out to offer, and that's the only way you can become an MVNO. Is that correct?
We have trusted and we have mandated MVNO regime to the major incumbent players that you've mentioned through a regime where we have, certainly with recommendations and full public hearings, looked at the model and ensured that that was the best ability for us to build out and maintain not just good prices, but maintain innovation, more choice through more competition on that front. Those players are entering the market, have entered the market, and have already had an impact on pricing. I know you've highlighted certain pricing indications, but certainly our numbers with respect to mobile is over the last year, you've seen an actual decrease by 16% of the overall rates on the packages in there. And in fact, prices have been decreasing since 2017 in that measure there. Canadians do not feel like they are getting better prices because at the same time they are consuming more and more faster services and significantly more data consumption services.
So I'm going to get you right there. That's what Canadians are consuming. Do you have updated numbers at CRTC today of how much data Canadians are consuming per month at this point?
I would have it here, but we can provide it to the committee.
If you can submit that.
Yeah.
Your last data from your submissions, 2014 in one quarter, Canadians would consume 39 million gigabytes a quarter. And quarter 3, 2022, that went up to 554 million gigabytes. So Canadians were consuming over 10 times the data they were in 2015. That's only in 8 years. So when we're looking at prices, we can go into how Canadians are looking at that. But the reality is companies now are selling more data. They're gouging Canadians on data, and they're making more money on that data. Would that be correct?
Well, actually, when you look at the numbers and the level of data consumed, certainly Canadians are looking for faster speeds, because the speed is certainly an implication as we are consuming more data, consuming more video, consuming more high bandwidth services as Canadians on that front. But the actual rate, when you look at the rate per what is consumed on an average basis, that rate has been decreasing tremendously on that front. Canadians are consuming far more. As we're here today, we're continue to work on expanding the MVNO regime to make sure that we're able to serve Canadians and that there is more competition and that there is even more price impact on, whether it's data consumption services or your mobile subscription packages.
Merci, Monsieur Williams. Madame